Good evening. Welcome to Have I Got News for You? I'm Richard Ayoade. In the news this week, Conservative Party members deny their system for voting in their next leader is outdated. Under pressure to stop sitting on the fence over Brexit, Jeremy Corbyn offers his clearest vision yet of the party's future under him.
That only goes one way. Down, 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 down.
As the odds shorten on a snap general election, candidates of all parties are prepared for the reception they'll receive when they start door-to-door campaigning. And with his publishing deadline only moments away, David Cameron is forced to make some last-minute revisions as his literary agent drives him to the printers. On Ian's team tonight is a woman whose two main interests are comedy and serial killers. Well, she'll enjoy watching me murder some jokes this evening. Please welcome Kiri Pritchard-McLean. And with Paul tonight is not only the presenter of Pointless, but has just written his first novel. So that's what he's been doing on that laptop during every episode. Please welcome Richard Osman. And we start with the biggest stories of the week. Paul and Richard, take a look at this.
Theresa May, yes, the leaving of the woman who was Prime Minister. This Coney Island, 1927, five-horse race. There's some people about the horses running. There's the man who has police protection every time he walks his bike across the road. And that's some footage from a car chase in 1968.
There we go. Is that enough for you?
Is that enough for you? Yes. Theresa May's resigned, made a speech and managed to keep it going all the way to the end when she sort of, like, started crying and everybody started laughing.
Now there's an enormous race to succeed her.
Yeah.
So to succeed her in literally the worst and most toxic job imaginable.
Yeah.
The sort of job you'd have to be an idiot to take.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge field of candidates now.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. This is the race to become the new Conservative Party leader after Theresa May finally announced her resignation last week. Let's remind ourselves of her speech.
The second female Prime Minister, but certainly not the last. I do so with no ill will, but with enormous and enduring gratitude to have had the opportunity to serve the country I love.
He's got to take the bins out now.
Yeah.
With her in them.
It's a double whammy, isn't it? Because every time I've been made unemployed, at least Jeremy Kyle was on. What's she gonna do?
I mean, it's literally Homes Under the Hammer. That's all left. That's all
It's interesting that you mention Homes Under the Hammer because there was some great controversy.
Well, this would be live footage was put in instead of Homes Under the Hammer. Was that the complaint?
This is it. All those fans who are expecting, and there are a lot of us,
Yeah.
to watch Homes Under the Hammer.
Yeah.
This is a programme about property auctions, Ian, and not about the attempted mercy killing of Eamon Holmes.
Although the second option would get more viewers.
Yes. As a clearly emotional Theresa May began to speak, Munster Becks tweeted, "May can't even resign properly. She could have waited till after Homes Under the Hammer."
But then you've got Here Come the Sheriffs, and after that is Bargain Hunt, so when do you resign?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. As it became clear that Theresa May was resigning as Prime Minister, Chrissy tweeted, "Right, she's going. At BBC One, get Homes Under the Hammer on."
Whenever you watch Homes Under the Hammer, it's always Martin Roberts saying, "In a moment, I'm going to look at a distressed semi in Derby," but it's never as exciting as that.
Yes.
Do you know there's a whole world I'm missing?
Yeah, it's called the 21st century.
Daytime TV.
Yeah, exactly. Lord Helsham had been producing the Jeremy Kyle show. Ian would be in it.
I mean, there's a slot free there now.
Yeah, there is, actually.
Ooh, you'd be great at Jeremy Kyle. Go, get a job. I could see you doing that.
ITV went to Skipton in Yorkshire to gauge reaction to her resignation. Have a look at this, and I'll give a bonus point to the first person who spots a dog in a pram.
Place that returns a Conservative MP like clockwork at every election. And on market day, you'll meet plenty of Conservative voters on the high street.
Boris Johnson is a favourite to replace Theresa May, but what might stop him?
Well, the party members love him, but the MPs don't like him. You've got to be in the top 2 to get put to the party members, and the MPs don't like him so much. Pretty much every Tory MP thinks he's an arse, apart from Chris Grayling, who thinks he's an elbow. But if he gets in that top 2, he will definitely be our next Prime Minister, which is a heartening thought, isn't it?
Isn't it just?
It's a lovely prospect.
I blame this programme.
Why?
For making him nice and accessible. I blame you guys.
Have you never seen this show?
If you look at the history of the show, nearly everybody who's been on more times than Boris became Prime Minister. Ken Livingstone, yeah. Charles Kennedy, yeah, absolutely. They were all there. Germaine Greer, first female Prime Minister, all our fault. You put someone on the show a lot of times, it's our fault. I mean, I didn't vote Boris in. I thought he was absolutely unsuitable and unfit for any office. The whole of London, Europe's biggest electorate, votes Boris in twice, so don't blame us.
Also, that may not be the reason why Boris doesn't get in.
He's been charged with lying, hasn't he?
Yes.
With falsifying, with the big bus with the figure outside that was something like £320 billion a week goes through Europe or something like that. So
We'll have to be careful, they'll cut this out, and I don't want anyone to spoil the fun of thinking Boris is going to go to jail for life. So, at the moment, we're just at the preliminary hearing stage.
Oh, right, OK.
About whether, when he was a public official, he was telling lies and, therefore, abusing his office. It should be an interesting trial. I mean, very similar to putting the Pope on trial and saying, are you a Catholic? He was sacked from then sacked from sacked by his own reprimanded.
Ian,
Yes.
we're not allowed to say anything that might prejudice the case.
Well, that's absolutely fair enough, because I would like him to have a fair trial with a desirable result of him being in prison forever.
Without wishing to prejudice the outcome of the case,
No, because we mustn't do that. I'm not saying he's guilty.
would you like to see Boris Johnson?
Let's deal with your arguments. One of them is on the side of this bus. We sent 350 million to Europe. We don't, and you know we don't. No, we don't. You know we don't.
No,
Admit that figure is grotesquely misleading at best.
I won't.
The true figure is 161 million, correct?
No, the true figure is 350 million.
In
pounds.
net terms, the real figure is 161.
If you take out the abatement and the money that comes back, the UK money that comes back via Brussels, the figure is obviously lower.
Matt Lucas is so good. The other factor weighing against Boris is that the favourite hardly ever wins. We all remember who the favourite was in 1965 when Ted Heath won, don't we?
Oh. Ian MacLeod.
It was Reginald Maulding.
Oh,
do you remember that guy? Oh.
How many hands did he have?
What's your favourite Reginald Maulding quote?
Mine, I think, was, I got 99 problems, but the bitch ain't one. That was Reginald.
Mine is, as he got on the plane after his first visit to Belfast when he was Northern Ireland Secretary, for God's sake, bring me a large Scotch. What a bloody awful country. At the last count, there were 27 candidates for the Tory leadership. So would you like to have a fun quiz about them?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll show you a tiny part of a photo of each candidate, and you have to buzz in if you know who it is.
Yeah.
Is the first? Yes.
Oh, I'm panicked now. Is it Jeremy Hunt?
It is, Jeremy.
Oh, I got
what
it from the
fake.
hairline.
Yes.
I just found out that he's a really big Catholic, which is amazing, isn't it? For someone who believes in hell, he's so relaxed about going there.
One MP, who had initially claimed he would support Jeremy Hunt, told The Times he was now going to back Michael Gove. Tory Brexiteer WhatsApp groups are full of MPs joking about Mr Hunt's changing no-deal position. Let me join that WhatsApp group. Wow.
Imagine that every time your pocket buzzed.
Mate, that shiz is real.
Yeah, fair.
On that WhatsApp.
You're not kidding.
What did Michael Gove tell his wife about his leadership ambitions?
I mean, he's going to run again?
He told her, "Arg, if only I could get my hands on the steering wheel." And she questioned the wisdom of this by pointing out that he failed his driving test 7 times.
I feel like if he can't do a 3-point turn, he's probably not going to smash Brexit, is he?
No.
Well, U-turners do.
Fingers on buzzers. Yes.
Is Is it Esther McVeigh?
No.
She's got very hairy wrists, if it is.
It's Matt Hancock.
Of course it is.
Oh, Matt Hancock.
This is Matt demonstrating his brilliant technological innovation from a couple of years ago, the Matt Hancock app, a social networking site named after him. The problem with the app was that if you launched it, you got this rather creepy message. Matt Hancock would like to access your photos. Some people had jokes at his expense.
Oh.
Anyone who fancies beer tonight, Matt Hancock me. Do not Matt Hancock me. Next, who's this?
I don't know.
I think that's Sajid Javid.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Or the Sudge, as no one calls him except himself.
Yes, it is Sajid Javid. It's a cheap shot to mock Sajid Javid because he's short and has a shiny head, and the Sunday Times weren't above doing that. And then there's the live-action Gollum, Rory Stewart. What's wrong with this? Rory Stewart with phone in queue.
Hi, this is Rory. I'm now in the slightly absurd setting of Kew Gardens. I'm here partly because as the DFID Minister, we're doing some very interesting work with cocoa farms.
It's not his hand, right?
Right. He's pretending it's a phone. It's clearly someone else, but he's still extending his hand. Someone tweeted, "Are you pretending to hold your phone?" He replied, "Yes."
You know the best thing about Rory Stewart?
Yeah.
You know what his real name is? Genuinely.
Go on.
His real name is Rod Stewart. His real name is Roderick.
Shut the fridge.
He's called Gordon Brown's real name is James Brown as well.
Yep.
Well, there would be confusion there, wouldn't
Yeah, there wouldn't there, yeah.
Between him and the Godfather of Soul.
Very similar.
I bought an album once, you know, greatest soul hits of the 60s. It was Gordon Brown.
Theresa May.
Yep.
Real name Brian.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the Tory leadership campaign to be the next Prime Minister. This week, Boris Johnson is facing a private prosecution alleging misconduct in public office. A source close to Boris said that the private prosecution was an attempt to crush the will of the people. I think over the past 3 years, that's already been done. Ian and Kiri, take a look at this.
The Virgin Mary?
It's the Liberal winners. Oh, there's a man wondering which direction to go. And there's a windbag.
Which UK parties did very well in the Euro elections?
The Brexit Party, they
Yes.
stormed it.
Yeah.
They got a very, very large number of votes. And main parties collapsed.
Yes.
So Farage, Widdicombe, that's the sort of government you want, then fine, it's panto. All year round.
We've had the referendum and everyone thinks we're just going to crash out in October anyway, so they're doing mad stuff and voting for mad things. You know, like when a plane is going down and people just start kissing strangers? It's like that, except instead of having an orgy, people are voting Lib Dem.
Not enough of them.
As ever, some voters chose to do something unusual with their ballot slip. What did a voter in Leicester do with theirs?
They cut it up into little sort of paper figures. So when you unfolded it with little paper figures?
It wasn't that.
No.
Although I wish I could have seen it.
It's a good idea, though.
Yeah, that's
It
what
is
I'd
good.
do if I lived in Leicester.
Well, according to The Guardian, one ballot had wank written in every single box, apart from that of the Green Party. The voter left a note saying, "not wank," for the Environmentalist Party, which was deemed acceptable as a vote. So, which fresh new face is now MEP for the South West?
Anne Widdecombe, is it?
It is Anne Widdecombe, who came out of the coffin to run for the Brexit Party. Here's a giddy widdy after her victory.
Only one reason for voting for us, and we have topped the poll, whether you like it or not. We are going to be the biggest party in the UK delegation at the European Parliament.
What is she doing, Johnny Rotten?
Yes.
Well, she's lost it completely, isn't she?
What is she now demanding, and why might she not get it?
24-hour nursing care?
They want a seat on the negotiating team.
Exactly. She told the BBC's Hugh Edwards, "When we go to Brussels, we will say that we want a role in negotiations," to which they'll reply, "There aren't any negotiations. They've just finished." The Lib Dems did well in the elections. Who voted for the Lib Dems?
Alistair Campbell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tony Blair's former communications chief, Alistair Campbell, who, as a result, was expelled from the Labour Party.
This has got a lot of people very annoyed. They're saying, you know, you don't throw people out for anti-Semitism, you don't throw Ken Livingstone out for suggesting Hitler was a pretty pro-Zionist kind of guy. None of that. But you throw Alistair Campbell out because you hate him and he's a Blairite.
How did Labour stalwarts react to the news that Alistair Campbell had voted for a different party?
Well, a lot of them did that sort of Spartacus thing and said, I voted for the Liberals as well.
Yeah, even Cherie Blair said I wrote not wank next to the Liberals.
What about Labour former Defence Secretary Bollocks Bob?
Bob Ainsworth?
Yeah. Bob Ainsworth told the
He was
BBC
on this show, he became Prime Minister, happens to everyone.
The only man who gets his hair cut by a ruler.
Bob Ainsworth told the BBC, I voted Green. And how did Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry respond?
Did she vote Brexit?
She said, we were not clear on the one single thing that people wanted to hear, that Jeremy Corbyn had resigned. What phrase has the Labour Party used to explain its Brexit fence-sitting policy?
A mistake?
They have referred to it as constructive ambiguity.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes,
if I was a drag queen, that would be my name.
Yeah. It's also how Gwyneth Paltrow moves forward in relationships. Which song lyric did Lib Dem MEP Catherine Bearder use to express her delight at beating Labour in Jeremy Corbyn's home borough of Islington?
Is it a modern song?
No.
No. Is it before or after the rock and roll revolution?
After.
After.
Pre-punk?
Oh, I'd say
really
it's
enjoying this.
in the mix of punk in a certain way.
Into it, like post-punk. Post-punk slash
New wave, are you
romantic.
talking about?
That's what I was
I'd say around there, but not affected by punk.
Well,
Join us. Jules Holland will be playing piano later.
So not Elvis Costello?
No.
No, it's not. Shall I say?
Yeah.
No. Are you trying to go through all music and just narrow it down?
Yeah.
Let's get really
Yeah.
specific.
Yeah. Give
Give us a clue.
OK. It starts with a K.
It started with a K. Hot chocolate, yeah.
Yeah. Well, she was heard to say, knock, knock, knockin' on Corbyn's door.
Oh.
They shouldn't ever be allowed to speak. The original lyric is knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door, which is actually more relevant to her leader, Vince Cable, 76. This is just the linearity of time. What is Lib Dem leader Vince Cable still planning to do in a fortnight?
We're still going to go.
Yes, he's going to retire as leader. He said, I think it's much better to stick with what I decided. I haven't wrestled with it. Neither's anyone else. I don't think that leaving on WTO terms sounds too bad, although that's because I don't know what it means.
You share that with everybody else.
Oh, good. It's one of the
It means that as soon as you crash out of Europe, you have to go and renegotiate your deal. So the idea that the minute we leave Europe, we're free, we're not. We're straight back saying, can you help us out? We need to do a deal. Except we're in a worse position because we haven't done a deal and we're not a member. So we're really begging. Rather than taking back control, we're more or less saying we give up.
Good game show format?
Not bad. WTF rules would be better.
This is the fallout from the Euro elections, which saw victory for the Brexit Party. The Sun's handy guide to new Brexit MEPs included Dr. David Bull, who first came to public attention as host of Most Haunted Live. So presumably it was through him that the Brexit Party got in touch with Anne Widdecombe. So at the end of that round, 2 points each.
2 points each. Yeah, big deal.
And so to round two, the strengthometer of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's the first one.
It's the story about sat-navs.
Yes, there was a driver that wanted to drive to Paris and put it in a sat-nav and put the wrong destination code in and ended up in Germany.
You were right. This is an 81-year-old man who's trying to drive from Newcastle to Rome, but got a bit lost. How did the unnamed 81-year-old, never been named in his life, how did the unnamed 81-year-old get lost driving from Tyneside to Rome?
Did he go to Rom?
He did go to Rom.
He dropped an E.
Yes, he dropped an E,
Shouldn't
like
do that
the
when
shaman.
you're driving.
Went to Rom.
Yes. It was a pilgrimage, and he was hoping to see the Pope.
Or the Pop.
Yes. Either works. But he misspelled Rome in his sat-nav, as the kids call it, and so ended up in Rom in Germany. According to the Times, he realised something was amiss when it occurred to him that he couldn't see any of the famous landmarks and was instead met with views of the dense black forests of the North Rhine-Westphalia. It might not have the Sistine Chapel, but can anyone name any of the major local landmarks and tourist attractions listed on Rom's Wikipedia page?
The Pencil Museum.
Not the Pencil Museum.
No.
Would you like to see the Wikipedia page?
Yes.
Yes, please.
What Dave Smith in The Sun had to say all about this?
Bring back national service.
Bring back hanging.
These are all
He should
very
be dragged
strong...
behind his own car.
These are all very strong ideas. But Dave wondered, did he not stop for food or fuel? Then surely it would have been obvious, with everyone wearing lederhosen and eating sausages and drinking beer instead of eating spaghetti and drinking wine. Dave, a man from the 70s. What happened to him when he arrived in Rome, this unnamed man?
Did he get a line on their Wikipedia page?
You'd hope they'd update it. When the hapless bloke from Newcastle arrived in Rome and stepped out of the car to look for the Sistine Chapel, he forgot to put the handbrake on, and his car rolled back and knocked him over with the open door before knocking down the road sign for Rome.
I've just realised who this is. It's the Chuckle brother that's still alive.
Yes. This is the unnamed man from Newcastle who drove to Rome instead of Rome. The pensioner said, I've been to hell and back, which is a town 300 miles west of Rome in Germany. According to the Mail Online, when he found himself in a town called Rome, not my favourite Jam song, ironically, he forgot to put the handbrake on. Surely that would only be ironic if he'd found himself in a town called Handbrake. Fingers on buzzer teams. Here's the next one.
It's Trump.
And the Queen.
She's pretending she's not there.
Yes.
He's on his way, providing he isn't impeached first.
I would like him to get impeached, but what if he gets impeached when he's over here and stays? So we want him to be impeached, but after he's got back, I think. Otherwise, he'll be holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy for the next 5 years.
Imagine what his hair would look like when he came out. This is the news that Trump is coming to Britain next week for a perfectly timed visit. How will Theresa May's resignation affect Trump's trip?
Not at all. She'll still be Prime Minister. It's the ultimate punishment. She had to stay around to meet him. He doesn't mind who's Prime Minister.
He's going to meet some sort of dead-eyed, hollowed-out woman with, like, nothing to lose. He's probably going to try and pay her to wee on him.
I thought you were just reading out his Tinder profile. How has Prince Charles been preparing for his meeting with Trump?
He's wondering whether to talk about climate change or not.
That is one of the things. According to the Express, he's had a team of people search his house for anything that might cause Donald Trump to take offence, like literature. One item they've removed from the living room is a photo of Barack Obama. And from the kitchen, an old El Paso Mexican fajita kit.
Is that why Meghan's not meeting him?
Well, that is something, yes.
She hasn't got time. She's very busy.
Oh.
Homes Under the Hammer is on.
Yeah.
Other than his views on Islam and climate change, what else emerged this week that could make Trump's meeting with Prince Charles a bit tense?
Oh, he wants Shag Camilla.
That's Prince Charles, not Trump.
Yeah.
He had a thing about Diana.
He did. An old interview has resurfaced in which Trump said, I only have one regret in the women department, that I never had the opportunity to court Lady Diana Spencer.
She's been through enough.
He also went on to add that Diana would still be alive if she had been dating him instead of Dodi Fayed, because he knew the speed limit in tunnels in Paris.
Oh. Wow.
Wow.
That's a good opener at dinner with the Queen.
Paris source told the paper Charles has more than enough experience to prevent any diplomatic row, although the Times added Charles will be taking on the role usually carried out. Where has Trump been brushing up on his international diplomacy this week?
Japan.
Correct. In Japan, where he went to see some sumo wrestling with Japanese leader Shinzo Abe. They're all wearing one of his ties. Yeah. What happened when Trump got into the sumo ring himself?
I mean, I know what I hope happened.
Yeah.
Well, he presented a trophy to the winning wrestler. Here it is.
I mean, that's just a normal-sized trophy. He really does have small hands.
Yeah.
What did Shinzo Abe bring home from a recent diplomatic trip to Canada?
I would say either A, maple syrup, or B, Justin Bieber.
Or an engraved moose.
You're very close with an engraved moose.
Am I? Engraved elk.
Keep going through animals.
An engraved caribou.
Think of Canadian-style animals.
Oh.
Well, we are, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. More. Beaver.
Beaver.
Yes.
There we go.
A beaver knocker.
Oh, you'll have to put that into context.
I will not, sir.
You must.
A beaver knocker.
A beaver knocker?
A beaver knocker. Would you like to see Abe Shinzo and his wife installing their impressive beaver knocker?
Absolutely. I'd
And
knock
they're
down
coming to
anybody who told me I couldn't.
Well, let's ruddy see it.
Yeah, go on, then.
You know...
Well, I've never seen a sadder-looking couple in all my life.
Well, it's difficult. Some sitcoms just don't travel. This is next week's official state visit by President Donald Trump. Meghan has got out of having to meet Trump on the grounds that it's too soon after having given birth to her son, an excuse that the Queen also tried, even though Prince Edward is 55. This week, Trump has been on a state visit to Japan. It went well, apart from a slightly awkward moment when Pearl Harbor was mentioned and Trump denied that he'd ever met her. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
W.H. Smith has been voted the worst shop in the high street yet again.
This is the news that W.H. Smith has been voted the worst retailer in the UK for the second year running. What's wrong with W.H. Smith?
Everything. Everything's all over the shop, literally. And it's...
Well, that's good. You don't want everything in one plate in a shop. It'd be piled up.
My worst ever Christmas present came from W.H. Smith. My dad bought me...
Right, you can buy him in there.
Yeah. My dad bought me a Christmas present from there, and it was a write-your-own-will kit.
If you go just in the door and then to the right, there's just by the till, there's this very good magazine, which is...
W.H. Smith's loyal customer base say that they think it's so bad they've devoted a whole Twitter account to it that posts bad reviews of the store. One eagle-eyed shopper spotted a slight issue with the pricing of this chocolate. 2 for £2, or 2 for £3, or £1.29 when bought separately. The sales clerk was Kafka. And 25p tax disc. Yes, a holder for an item that no longer exists. Why was Harrods in the news this week?
The first unexplained wealth order.
Yes.
To try and find out where people who come to this country and spend billions of pounds in Harrods actually got it from.
That is why they're in the news. Zamira Hajiva became the first person in the UK to face a so-called McMafia court order, which is aimed at sniffing out corruption and unexplained wealth.
Didn't she spend £330,000 in the sandwich shop in Harrods?
She should have got a meal deal.
She spent over £6 million on jewellery, £251,000 on toys, £30,000 on gourmet Belgian chocolates, £11,630 on tea and coffee in a single day, £6,165 on gift wrapping, and £2.18 on cheese. They are competitive at the cheese desk, aren't they?
You can't spend that money on tea and coffee in one day, can you?
You can if you use a big Sports Direct mug.
What has city financier Guy Hands been spending all his money on recently?
Gloves.
He's admitted to an alarming addiction to roast potatoes. He's jonesing for these roast potatoes and has even admitted to having hypnotism to cure it. He said in the Times this week, "If I went to a restaurant, I'd ask for roast potatoes and gravy. I'd eat 10 roast potatoes easily. Forget the rest. Just give me roast potatoes and gravy."
Is he passing this off as an addiction, as opposed to just being like Northern?
I hope you're not trying to poo-poo what is a very serious medical condition.
I'm sorry.
He hates potatoes. he just can't quit them. If you've been gripped by a potato addiction, as I have, you wouldn't be joking about it. You've got to sauce the spuds, you've got to peel the spuds, you've got to get them fluffy so that they absorb the oil, you've got to roast the spuds.
No, you haven't. Just go to M&S and you buy the pre-done one.
For a decent roast spud, Ian, get real. Please, W.H. Smith and roast potatoes, we're dealing with all the issues. Why has Wayne Rooney's new home been mocked this week?
It looks like a roast potato.
Did you say mopped?
Mopped.
I wish I had.
Oh, I was like, maybe he's got a new puppy.
Why has it been mopped? It's full of blood. The Rooneys have just spent £20 million building a six-bed mansion for their family, but one of the outbuildings on the 40-acre estate has been attracting unwanted attention because people think it looks like a branch of Tesco's. Would you like to see...
Yeah.
Yes.
Vicious slur? Which means at the end of this round, Paul and Richard have 5, Ian and Kiri have 3. Time now for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week. Your 4 are Jeremy Clarkson, Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull, Richard Drax MP, and a robot in Chichester.
Farming?
Yes.
And your family are farmers?
Yes.
So this is your question.
OK. We always wear top hats at lambing time. When it's haymaking time, my dad often punches a producer in the face.
Jethro Tull was a reformer during the agricultural revolution.
He invented the seed drill.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Porter, from my O-level history, if you're watching, there you go. Turns out it did come in handy, and I apologise. He was a pioneer, Jethro Tull. Is that the answer?
It's not the right answer.
OK.
It's farming, though.
It is farming. You're in the right area. But...
Jethro Tull, man, is a salmon farmer.
Yes.
And Drax was an MP who has a lot of land and got a lot of subsidies for it. And this... They're all humans who farm, except this robot who farms.
That is the exact right answer.
Oh,
you were there.
Done.
Yes. They've all owned farms, apart from a robot in Chichester, which works on a farm. What does the robot do?
He picks fruit.
That is right. It's the world's first raspberry-picking robot. What do you call a fruit-picking robot?
Fruit bot.
You're going to like it when you hear it.
Go on then.
Oh.
Robocrop.
Oh.
Right. If you're a fruit farmer, it will set you back £700,000. I guess if you're not a fruit farmer, they're still going to charge you £700,000.
Otherwise, you just pretend not to be a fruit farmer,
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
exactly.
So I'd like to buy one. I'm not a fruit farmer,
I'm not a fruit farmer. Oh, it's £500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Its manufacturers claim Robocrop can pick 25,000 raspberries a day, outpacing one human labourer who can manage only 15,000 a day.
Wow.
Let's have a look at Robocrop in action, but be warned, it's not quite up to full working speed at the moment, so what I'd like you to do is to press your buzzer just before it picks the fruit. Closest correct buzz wins a raspberry from my personal raspberry pouch. Buzz in any moment. You kind of got to get into the mind of Robocrop. Oh, it's too early. You can buzz again, though.
It picks 30,000 of these a day.
And are we going to watch all of them?
It's building up to it. You can buzz again.
Slow TV.
No. Why would you think Robocrop would be so rash?
What's he doing?
It's thinking about it. Robocrop is thinking about it, Paul.
It might not have picked that one at all.
That's
yeah.
He literally buzzed after he picked it.
No, farmer's daughter.
Yeah, I've got the eye, mate. Look at that.
Right. There, look.
And that's £700,000.
Hey, this procedure is not over by a long shot. Oh. Only 24,999 to go. How did one child get caught out by a picking machine this week?
It's abducted a child very, very, very slowly.
It's already turned to a life of crime.
Yeah.
3-year-old Noah from Mansfield got himself stuck after climbing into an arcade grabber machine.
Yes.
Would you like to look at it?
Yeah. It took his parents 5 days to get him rescued.
Yeah.
Cost them £85.50, and he ended up with 45 teddy bears.
No. He has the face of someone who looks like he always knew this would happen. Here's farmer Jeremy Clarkson on his farm.
Farmer Clarkson.
Farmer Clarkson. And that he's bought in the Cotswolds. He's actually, the reason he's bought the farm is that he's worried about the environment. Despite being a self-confessed meatarian, Jeremy Clarkson is moving towards a vegetarian diet, but admitted, I do eat chicken, but that's just a vegetable with a head.
That's how I would describe Jeremy Clarkson as well.
They've all owned farms, apart from a robot in Chichester, which just works on a farm. The AI robots are intended to replace migrant workers. One farmer exclaimed, they can work for 20 hours and you don't have to feed them or pay them. Although he is thinking of getting a robot instead. Which means at the end of this round, it's Paul and Richard, 5. Ian and Kiri catching up, 5. Equal now. Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication Aerostat, the magazine for hot air balloon enthusiasts and who isn't. And we start with what and what are a surprisingly successful combination.
Ant and Dec.
Is it Ian and Crystal Meth?
I've never met her.
It is hot air ballooning and cider.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is an article from Aerostat magazine about a business which offers people the chance to drink cider in a hot air balloon. What could possibly go wrong? Next, what in River Thames sparks bomb alerts?
Bomb!
I think I know this one. Do we get a point if we actually get it right?
Yeah, that's how...
Wow, that's late in the day to suddenly... Wow.
You know how quizzes work?
Not really.
No.
Not really. I'm used
It's not
to
really your area of expertise,
Not
is it,
really.
Richard?
It was an enormous Christmas bauble.
Yes. Are you saying that you've been withholding right answers up until this point? The answer is a giant Christmas bauble. Here's the bauble. Tower Hamlets police were ridiculed for taking the threat seriously, but to give you some idea of the scale, here's how it compares to a double-decker bus. Next, if your hot air balloon is grounded by bad weather, what is the next best thing?
Is it a condom and a bicycle pump?
Standing in the basket and pretending to fly.
That is so heartbreaking.
It's the opposite of what R. Kelly would do. And it's always good to do the opposite of what R. Kelly would do. And finally, Greek restaurant charges tourists £740 for what?
Controlling stake in the Greek economy.
The answer is calamari and beers. A group of holidaymakers has accused a Greek restaurant of overcharging for their calamari starters, saying it's a good job we didn't order the souvlaki.
Souvlaki.
Souvlaki. Saying, could I do that again? But, you know, like a human. A group of holidaymakers has accused a Greek restaurant of overcharging for their calamari starters, saying it's a good job we didn't order the souvlaki. Why am I... There we go. Souvlaki. It's just souvlaki.
It's a good job we didn't order something that wasn't on the menu.
No. A group of holidaymakers have accused a Greek restaurant of overcharging for their calamari starters, saying it's a good job we didn't order the souvlaki. Thank you.
Now, that cheer's not going to make any sense to anybody watching.
It
sounds like the whole studio wants to go, yeah, I wouldn't have got it either. Good move.
I live for those pity cheers.
Yeah.
Finally, someone's mentioned souvlaki.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is great.
The tourists were shocked as they were only expecting it to be a few squid. Thank you. So, thank you. So the final scores are Paul and Richard 8, Ian and Kiri 5.
Oh.
But before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
Is it Brexit Party launch youth wing?
Is that a 3D version of Alexa?
Is it When your wife likes threesomes and knitting.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Kiri Pritchard-McLean, Paul Merton and Richard Osman. And I leave you with news that, following last week's European elections, Labour's victorious MEPs gather for a celebratory get-together. In Somerset, after McDonald's stops selling milkshakes, one quick-thinking protester improvises for the visit of Nigel Farage. As the Tory leadership contest heats up, the UK's most popular political figure is urged to throw his hat into the ring. And at a death metal festival in Wiltshire, the crowd are thrilled by Slipknot's new lead vocalist. Good night.
Never have history and cutting sarcasm gone so hand in hand. Join Edmund, Baldrick and Queenie in one of my all-time favourite comedies, Blackadder 2, available now on iPlayer.